federal government recently announced the official handover of the National Arts Theatre Complex in Lagos to Central Bank of Nigeria and the banks under the aegis of Bankers Committee in order to commence the renovation of the facility. It will be recalled that last year, the Central Bank, in conjunction with Bankers Committee, unveiled the Creative Industry Financing Initiative, which was designed to enable businesses to obtain loans up to the tune of 500 million. The new managerial consortium said it will be targeting the creation of 1 million jobs from this project in the next 5 years. But what has been of greater public interest in all of this is what the likely impact will be, and the significant one, mostly on notable cultural landmarks in Lagos. For greater illumination, we are now being joined by Makinde Adeniran, a theatre director and chairman, Nigerian Association of Nigerian Theatre Arts Practitioners, Lagos State Chapter. Welcome to the program. It's a pleasure having you, sir. I just want you to give us your read on this. You know, it's sort of like a meeting of arts and business. Hardcore business meets arts, the business of arts now. What will be the impact, you know, on the art scene in Nigeria? Will it revive the art scene? Are we going to have those glorious days again, you know, that spans from the 70s down till now, of bustling creativity centered around arts in Nigeria?
Thank you for having me on the program, first and foremost.
Thank you so much, sir.
I don't seem to catch the other part of what you said earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your read on this, what will it do for the creative sector in Nigeria? How can we teach the bankers the business of art? Because they need to understand that too.
Okay. The first thing, I would like to commend the government for taking such initiative. Because in Nigeria, as it were, we don't seem to understand or appreciate, government in this sense, to appreciate the value that tourism and entertainment brings into the nation. In my thinking, we really don't need to teach the Bankers Committee the theater. We really need to make them just understand, right? And in the other part, they need to make us understand, which is where I commend the initiative, the arrangement of the PPP. And to my understanding, over the time before now, there has been agitation, selling or not selling of the facility and all of that, and stakeholders protesting here and there and all of that. A whole lot of politicking. But this is where I stand. Most of us here, practitioners, I dare say, are doing theater for theater's sake. We never seem to consider the business aspect of it. We never seem to consider the third estate to come into the profession. And this is where this reality is pushing us to. This reality is pushing us to the fact that as much as we do this, the economical power lies between both sectors understanding the implication of this partnership. We must understand it. Content is power all over the world now, which is what largely the stakeholders, that's what we pride ourselves on. And on the other hand, the business of how to move this content from point A to point B is very important. That was why I particularly use the word, we only need to make them understand, not to teach them. We don't need to be taught their business, but we only need to understand, because this is how we work together, and this is how it will benefit all of us.
Well go ahead.
Okay. Makinde, it's good to see you.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, you are my president.
Thank you, sir.
So I'm excited having a conversation with you. But,
thank you.
You know, we've been on this issue for years.
Yes.
Since Connor first organized the first symposium on what should happen to the National Theatre.
Yes.
And now the National Theatre has been handed over to bankers. Now, there are two sides to it. They're devoting part of the funds to revitalizing the theatre, but they are devoting more to the adjoining lands. What is the guarantee that these bankers who are not in the business of theater are more interested in the land, the plots of land in question. And then secondly, you also know that there is a matter in court because before now, Jadia's Trust, Yetunde Aina and others, they had been in conversation, in negotiations with the federal government. Now, what is going to happen now? And where is the role of the stakeholders in this matter? Because it doesn't look as if the stakeholders were consulted. The people in the bankers committee, are they really interested in theater, or they are interested in the adjoining plots of land?
I'll go straight without bias on this matter. I'm a theater practitioner, and of years, this is how I spend my life. So ordinarily, I should be supporting whatever course I'm going on. But we have to look at all this without sentiment. The bankers won't be spending so much coming into our business without looking at something. That's the reality of it. The earlier the stakeholders understand this, the better for us. Yes, the government has so done it, from my understanding, from the little findings I have made, they have so done it that the agitation in the past was that National Theatre is a monument. They are usually not given out outrightly to business people to go and do whatever they want with it. It has to be held in trusts by the government. And I think with this arrangement, that's what the government has done. When you go into business, right, you must know the place of compromise. You give, you take. You repair the facility for us, whatever is happening, repair it, redesign if there is need, some of the internal structures, redesign it for us, and then probably have the land there to make your business. Because I don't expect the bankers committee to come into this without looking at something. These are business people. We must give something for something. However, what we need to do as practitioners is to be firm on what we are asking. And it has to start from now. We don't expect the bankers committee to bring such huge fund without having a slice of the cake. And in my thinking, the government has done so well for now by help us repair the National Theatre, put it in shape, back in shape to the standard globally, as it were, but it is not handed over to be run to the bankers committee. I am thinking the second phase, which is the fallow ground where they want to develop and this. And if you look at it in the larger sense, everywhere in the world, you don't build a monument like that, a theater, a national theater, without creating a hub around it. So if the bankers committee are thinking of taking, getting back the fund they are committing into it from the hub they are creating around, it's a good bargain, I would say. Since the National Theatre, the running of the National Theatre after repairs is not going to be handed over to the bankers committee. However, the stakeholders must know now that this process is on, this is the time for us to press a reset button in terms of running the facility professionally. Because in my thinking, 80% of those who are working in the National Theatre now are incompetent. I can tell you that outrightly.
Well, NANTA president, I'm sure many of our colleagues will not agree with you in that regard, but, well, that's debatable.
That's exactly it.
But what will happen, I mean, you are talking about the hub.
Yes.
And I asked you, what level of engagement do we have between the bankers and the theatre practitioners? And are they going to leave Abegi for us? I hear that Abegi disappeared.
Well, so far that I know that NANTA, National Association of Nigerian Theatre Arts Practitioners, is represented on the board of the National Theatre. And
that's, is it Israel?
Israel Ebo, who is the national president, is represented on the board. And to that effect, I think some, and to the glory of God, the PAMSEC, Grace Gepe of the ministry.
Grace is a PAMSEC now. That's good.
Yes, she's equally a practitioner of some sort. And she's been in this. So to like it, but for the rest of the stakeholders, I know there are talks here and there. We are getting to get together. Particularly to look at how the monetization of this project will be. The engagement is not yet, but it's in the pipeline. Okay. It is things that we are beginning to talk about to hold, particularly for resetting the whole system by the end of the project.
Well, that's the second time you're talking about resetting. You talked about resetting the button. Initially, you also mentioned this is the time to ask firm questions. That's the practitioner. So I'm asking you, what are those critical questions that practitioners should be asking? What are the answers you're seeking? And secondly would be, what will all of this really do for the arts and the artists?
Okay, thank you. Good question. See, the Nigerian government and the practitioners, we are not taking full advantage of tourism and entertainment in the nation yet. We are treating it as a second fiddle. This is the time for us to really push it to the fore. COVID-19 has really taught us, has really opened us up to certain facts that we must know that this is an industry that needs to be looked at again by the government and plan. There is much of economical gain around the tourism and entertainment industry. The government just need to look at it. And I am not leaving it directly to them. I'm saying the stakeholders, we have a responsibility. We have been pushing before now, but this is the time. We can't give up. We have to, right? National Theatre handover and all this project is a symbol of what we need to be doing. And we are glad about that, but we need to step it up. For example, the nation. Nowhere in Nigeria that we are talking of endowment fund for the arts. You don't have such facility, we don't have such huge potentials in this country without talking of endowment fund. This is how elsewhere in the world, right, that they galvanize, they give power to that sector. There is the hard power, there is the soft power. The cultural diplomacy and all of that. Is our government taking advantage of cultural diplomacy, which is the soft power? As it is, the core power, the hard power, we are not attaining that for all kinds of reasons, political, social, and all of that. But it's okay. But there is the advantage of the soft power, which the cultural policy, right, which other things, the engagement, knowing the reason behind all this, we can take advantage of. The soft power, right, is important for the government of Nigeria right now. Yes, there is the saying, arts can't pay as much. Everything is not about the absolute economical profit. No, the way to run a country, the social aspect of the country is dependent wholly. And hey, I'm not one of those who says arts cannot make money. No, it is about planning. We have potential. I have traveled a little bit across. I've practiced outside of this show, and I've seen the potentials that we have. If you, they make this regular comment of content is power, content is money all over the world. It's not for nothing. We have that here. So in terms of policy, in terms of some other things that we need to do to begin to reset our cultural direction, in terms of practice and administration, this is the time for us to talk about it. For example, look at the national troop. National troop is, ever since a new GM director has been appointed to the National Troop of Nigeria, it has been comatose. It has been comatose. Nothing is happening there. How do we, is that what it is? There is the other issue of a national troop different, a national theater differently. No, these are institutions that are just one. It is the structuring. This is the time we have to look at the organogram of running a national theater. At the present, the kind of organogram that is going on there, you don't seem to understand. You can't find it in any other theater across the world. This is the time we need to bring all those things back to the table. And these are the questions that I meant about resetting. We cannot run a national theater without having a programming department that is huge. What the national theater, such places sell all across the world is the content. And the power of that content is resolutely, right, determined by the programming department. It's huge. It is not, these are things that I say this almost every time. I say, look, the way you run a country is largely not about the money you spend. It is about the kind of ideas, the kind of head that are put together and articulated. And this sector, the entertainment sector, that is primarily what they do. Because we take from our environment and return it. Right? It is the mirror. That's why they call it the mirror. We return it. Those things are collated by government. And that's why the retention of national theater to be run, to be handled, kept in this thing for the country is essential. It cannot be given away because that is where you take all this idea back into the people who are in the house. When all these things are documented, this is how they get feedback of what is happening contemporarily in the country. This is one aspect of it. What about the aspect of the education? How the literature, right, the literature of this country fits into our education. Presently, if you go to our education sector, it is one literature book that we've been reading.
Okay, real quickly, I just wanted to talk more. It's great to talk about art, and you know, with art comes emotions.
Yeah.
You know, but with business comes logic.
Yeah.
And that's very important. For things like this, yeah, you say you need patient capital. But from the model I'm seeing on ground, you need extra patient capital. And it will get to a time where the rubber will hit the road, where the logic guys of business will say, okay, is it really worth our time? What is this churning in? How are you guys going to adjust when it comes to that process? Because once the work starts, the money starts to roll out, the days start to tick many years down the line. They want to make their money back. Let's not forget, the banks are putting in depositors' funds too.
Yeah.
So, how do you adjust that?
You see, government is in continuum. We keep going. That's why, for me, this is a good marriage, right? It is good that the third party is coming into this business. The arrangement of PPP is to shock the industry back to reality. That gone are the days of do theater for theater's sake or do entertainment for. We have to. I talked of the third estate, right, where the law industry comes into the business, forms agency in this country. When we talk of managers, when you see some artist managers, you just feel they are their PAs. It got to change. The discussion about this, I don't want to preempt anything. I want to believe that the Bankers Committee themselves have looked at this futuristically, and they have come to understand that this is how the industry is. For them to have taken the decision of committing such huge fund into this, they have a plan. And I want to believe we have been in the works forever, negotiating this, and that's why I keep hammering on resetting. This is the time, particularly for the stakeholders. We have to realize the fact of this time. Enough of complaint, enough of saying it cannot work, enough of all that. We must start somewhere to begin to realize the fact of our profession. What we are interested in, what we should be interested in right now is how to leave a good legacy for the generation coming. The new generation of practitioners are there, right in our faces. If we don't take advantage of this, if we don't spend our time on this and put something on their table, we'll come back to say this story in years to come.
Makinde, we need to wrap this up now.
Thank you.
But just before we go, there's an editorial in Business Highlights that also raises a number of questions. And the questions are as follows,
Yes.
as takeaway. When did the CBN and Bankers Committee become deep pocket investors? And was there any bidding process? 2, are they a registered entity under which to legally undertake the massive redevelopment investment? 3, have members of the Bankers Committee, who are the managing directors of commercial banks, secured their bank's shareholders' permission to invest such amount? 4, what asset development plan did CBN and Bankers Committee present to the federal government that warranted the handover? And did the National Assembly, was the National Assembly in the know? Was the prevailing BPA Act part of this dashing deal? What is the fate of the original investor who took possession of the complex during the privatization era? How many film industry stakeholders were consulted, and what were their advice? And how would what happened to the National Theatre on Sunday, July 12th, be described? Is it an investment, or is it a sale, or a lease, or a concession? There are more questions, but I guess these are some of the questions that will be addressed in court, because as I told you earlier, the matter is before the court. But what is important to Nigerians, perhaps, and to stakeholders, is to have a national theatre that truly serves its purpose.